You're now tuning in to 13signsastrology.com. I hope y'all having a good evening. So I want to kind of teach on a lesson, I guess, in the evening time instead of always doing these early morning sessions and these, afternoon sessions. Let's do a little bit of evening talking for a couple of minutes on the teachings of metaphysics in the books aspect of it, and then you got the computer aspect of it, and then you have what's called the astral aspect. So it's kind of like a triad, right? You got three different aspects of it. And mind you, as I'm doing this video, I just kind of want to interject. I may stop because I have a project going on and I'm simultaneously working on two things at once. But this thought is in my mind, so I want to go ahead and get it out. So you have three different, a triad, essentially the way this thing is set up. And it's set up on a grid. So essentially what you have with metaphysical teachers is that you have the books, you have the computer aspect again, and then you have the channeling or the dream aspect. And this is essentially how you get information in metaphysics, but a lot of it has been watered down as far as on the metaphysical level. And what I mean by that is that now, like, a lot of it is coming strictly from books, essentially is what it is. So like since now a lot of it is coming from not books, as I'm doing this, not essentially coming from books, but essentially what it is that a lot of it is coming from the computer, A lot of it is coming from the computer and through the computer, and it's being sent. It's almost like being sent from the computer, essentially is what it is. So into another person that's watching you on a computer. So this forms what's called like a two-player scenario, or two. And you know how I get into this thing. So that computer version of the Matrix kind of took over. That's the point I want to just kind of clearly just make right now. Is that computer aspect is really what's dominating. Even when you watch a lot of the channels and all of this stuff in metaphysics right now, you see that computer teaching like aspect taking over. So people wondering like why I'm coming like this, because it's like my job is just to offset it all, essentially, like, because it's not original. So it's like, yeah, they were like, people saying like, well, you was coming, with a little bit more information with the older videos and it was more in depth, and I get that, and it was more views. But then that was back then. You got to remember that was a different energy. You got some people weren't really into that hype the way it was. That was a whole era right there. So this is another era right here. You know what I'm saying? And, it's a lot of people getting high views in this era. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying I'm one of the top guns in this era. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying what I am doing now in this era is just more on a street level to just offset the watered down aspect, but then still sliding in the jewels while simultaneously going through a lot of the street shit, which is real, more like the real or the first version of the Matrix. And that's where I'm getting into sort of book aspect, or which is really the first version, or what's called being at the Matrix, or being at it. And then you got the second Matrix, which is the computer aspect, and that's the digital aspect. And then you have a third level of it, which is the dreams, and I'm not going to cover that here. So I'm really just talking about these two levels. I'm not going to go into the dreams too much yet. Maybe I'll do a different separate episode on that. So you got these are just the two levels, right? So essentially what it is that the old aspect is where I'm at now. I'm still in that and just doing it more on the street level now. So of course it's not going to be as relevant. I'm not in elaborate hotels with books that are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a piece. And I got like maybe 300 to 400 of them. So you're talking about over 50 grand in books and shit sitting around, and crystals and all of this different stuff in a room pretty much with me. And then traveling on buses and moving around with this stuff on crates. That's what I was doing back then. So now it's more like I'm literally out here every day, all day on the streets, more as kind of like a media. It's more like media is what I'm doing now, more so. And it's like news, because this is real stuff that's happening to me, other people, every stuff that I'm talking about, but then it's teachings too. So I'm pointing all that out, not to, brag about that, but just to kind of talk about like how that's the second, that's the version of Matrix I'm in. But then you got this computer aspect, and these are people who are getting high views, but when I'm listening to what they're talking about, it's still coming from that digital like you can tell they learned most of it through the internet even. And you can tell if someone came through If you and you can tell if someone came through a real portal, a real teacher, you know what I'm saying, like a genuine person. Like, you do got a few people out there like that, so I'm not saying you don't, but you know, you got these people that come through these genuine teachers or whatever, that's like the real matrix essentially. And then you got the computer where it's like, you know, you learned everything through the computer type of thing, and that's fine too, you know. That's how you got it, because you can be initiated that way as well. So it's just rituals and everything that you do, and I just want to kind of point that out. So the computer aspect, that's taking you to the money and the credit aspect, and the monetization, which when you monetize on a street level. People don't know that you monetize on a computer level. See, if you're just sitting in your house monetizing, that's the problem. That's why I'm saying I'm counting this, and you like, I don't see why you count it, because like I'm out in all kind of different parts of the world doing this stuff, or country, excuse me, doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like you may be just in the office, just monetizing, just doing all this stuff, and that's fine. That's a certain type of way. It's a certain way I would do that if I was doing that. I would monetize differently if I was doing that. And I'm not in that level. And that's not even how I see myself, because I mean, I always been on, you know, on a street level since I was a kid, and you know, it's just as much of a business as, you know, the person that's in the store. Is just a different way of operating at the end of the day. So that's where we at, and that's where kind of like my teachings are at. It's like it's a mixture right now in the community with that mixed in with the real thing. So it's like, as you kind of going to see eventually with these videos, I'm going to blend back into, you know, the books and going deeper into, you know, the elaborate hotel rooms, and eventually we'll get back there. But this is where we at now. So just a little food for thought and jewels for this evening. Namaste.